Hey all you super players out there, Ben Lodice aka 5 Buck Lunch, coming at you with a new profile for Lime Frieza. Before I get started, I want to remind everyone that joins on to my Patreon for any level this month will be in the running to win a negative energy Dragon Ball Secret Rare. So go on there, all you gotta do is pledge $1 and you'll get in there. There'll also be another raffle for anyone that pledges 5. But go ahead, jump in there and get a chance at that Secret Rare. So Lime Frieza. I really like this deck, by the way. There was a guy that topped one of the Reist events with it, and I kind of took his build and springboarded off it a little bit, added some extra things, took a couple things out, tweaked some numbers, and think I've really got the deck in a really good spot right now. I've won a couple locals with it. I've been doing really well. For starters, so we're playing the Set 1 Frieza. Active main once per turn, place one of your Frieza's Army battle cards in the drop area, choose one of your energies, which is to active, then draw a card. At 4, draw 2 and awaken. And on his flip side, he has active main once per turn. Place one of your Frieza's Army battle cards in the drop area. Choose up to 2 of your energies, switch them to active mode, then draw 1 card. When this card attacks, draw a card. So basically, we need to keep up a cycle of cheap, replaceable Frieza's Army cards so we can use them for extra energy and extra draw power. This deck draws a ton of cards. On the backside, your leader draws 2 cards a turn essentially, and you're probably going to be playing one of the little guys that also gets you advantage. So to start off with, since this is a set 1 leader, we need ways to awaken. On our front side, we're better off than a lot of the set 1 leaders because at least we have some way to draw, but we want to awaken as soon as possible so we can start untapping 2 energy and drawing the second card every turn. For starters, we have Infernal Emperor Freiza. Easy enough. When you play it, choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. Avenging Frieza, which when you play it, you look at the top 3, choose 1 Frieza's Army from among them, energy cost 2 or less, and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. And all of our 2 or lower battle cards in this deck are Frieza's Army. So it's very easy to get this almost every single time. Paragus Deadly Premonition. When you play this card from your hand, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 Broly BR card among them, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. If you look between the 1-drop Broly, the Paralyzing Presence, Demonic Intimidation, Explosive Wrath line, and our Arrival Broly, these are all Broly BR. So we have a lot of targets for this. And also a lot of our power and actually like win condition cards are hit by this. So we're going to be wanting to use these cards a lot. Chilai Frieza Force Soldier. She is another 1-drop Frieza's Army. When you play her, you draw a card. And active main for 1 green, 1 anything. Choose up to 1 green Frieza's Army card, energy cost 2 or less from your deck. Play it, then shuffle your deck. We're not really going to be using that effect at all. She's mostly just the fact that she's a Frieza's Army. She's green, which is really important for your arrivals. And she draws a card when she's put in play. 2 Broly preparing for battle. This card is actually very important. It's a Broly BR and a Frieza's Army, so it hits all of our search targets, hit it. And then when you play it, from your hand or your drop area, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost of 1, and KO it. And then he has another active main effect, but it only works if your leader is a yellow Broly BR, so we're not going to worry about that. But the big thing about this is this deck gets hosed really bad by a lot of the 1-drop cards that like stop you from untapping energy, or the ones that like Black Mass Saiyan that stops you from playing battle cards through from your hand, like with special abilities. Things like that really hose this deck, so we need this card in there for that. It's also a green card, which is very useful because it helps with our arrivals. 4 of Frieza's Call. Now, this is a huge key card in the deck. We really want to, it can access like any of our 2 or less cards, and it's very important for, because if we can turn this into our Frieza Malicious Streak, our deck is going to pop off really early. So all it does is a 1-cost yellow extra card. Choose 1 Frieza's Army card, energy cost 2 or less from your deck, play it in rest mode, then shuffle your deck. So for the most part, we're going to want to turn this into a Frieza Malicious Streak. What Frieza's Malicious Streak does, it's a 2-cost, double yellow, which can get kind of awkward, unfortunately. When this card is placed in the drop area from a battle area, you may choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. If you do, choose up to 1 Frieza's Army card, or 1 Frieza card, I'm sorry, from your hand, energy cost of 2 or less other than this card, and play it. So what we're going to want to do is turn 1, we're going to want to Frieza's Call for the Malicious Streak, sack it with our ability, Sack with our ability to untap an energy and draw a card. So now we're going to draw a card, take a life off of our Freiza, and then put in play, hopefully, an Infernal Emperor Freiza to take another life. So we get to take 2 life on turn 1. And then we can even put something else in play after that because we'll have an untapped yellow. So you could play something like an Avenging Frieza as well. So so you can do all that on turn 1. We've taken 2 life, we've drawn cards, and we've put battle cards on the board we can use later to sack off to untap more energy. For our super combo, we're playing Dodoria the Emperor's Attendant. This is the set 1 super combo for Frieza's army. It is a Frieza's army, so you can grab it off of Avenging Frieza. And it's just when life is 4 or less, you can draw a card and plus 10k. Going back to some more of the extra cards, we're playing 3 Nimbus and 2 Time Magic. The deck doesn't have a lot of room since we got to play a lot of these little combo pieces, but it definitely needs negates because it's more of a mid-rangey deck. Your lower battle cards don't really threaten much damage. You're not going to be really attacking a whole lot until like turn 3, turn 4. So we need to be able to defend ourselves. We also get to play our 1 of Cold Bloodlust since we're a Frieza's army leader. And this card is only getting better, to be honest, and a lot of people don't see it coming. It's something your opponent just constantly has to worry about when you're playing this card. All the people on my star joke that this is your secret rare because it's limited to 1, and it's probably as powerful as a secret rare is. 3 Grade 8 Bardock Raiders Warcry. This is one card that I added to the deck since the list from the list that topped. For some reason, he wasn't playing this card. I'm not sure why. My guess is he couldn't access them because they're pretty expensive, but it definitely improves the deck a lot, giving you a double striker and an easy wet thing to do with your like untapped 2 energy. Like a common play I'll make is have my Freiza awakened, and then attack with the Frieza, draw a card, combo in the Grade 8 Bardock Raiders Warcry to tap something and draw a card, and then I can sack a Frieza's army to untap the 2 energy I used to put the Grade 8 Bardock in play. Those that don't know, it's a double strike. It's a 2-cost 10k combo, but after you combo with it, you can put it in play, draw a card, and tap one of your opponent's battle cards, and your leader has to be yellow. Very strong card. At the same time, I'm only playing 3 because it can also get stuck in your hand sometimes, and we do have a couple other cards that are 10k combos, and we really want to be using all of our energy to put battle cards in play and attack with them. 3 of Broly Paralyzing Presence. One really cool thing about this deck is it's probably the best utilizer of this engine with these 3 Brolys. And it's a pretty cool line. It does a lot of things that not really any other cards do in the game, which is kind of cool. So he's a 4-drop, 5k combo, 15k power. Permanent if the total number of your cards in rest mode between you and your opponent is 3 or more. Reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2, so it becomes a 2-cost. Once per turn, choose one of your opponent's cards in rest mode. Battle cards in rest mode, I'm sorry. And that card can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. A couple cool things to note about this card. Obviously, he's really a 2-drop for the most part. And it's important to remember he includes energy and he includes both yours and your opponent's. So you can really easily manipulate that. He also includes leaders, which is really important to think about. And along with the Demonic Intimidation card, when you select something to remain tapped, even if they have an ability that would untap the card, they can't use that. It says that it can't be switched to active until the end of your opponent's turn, which actually becomes very relevant. For example, if you leave energy tapped with the big one, your opponent can't untap it with awaken abilities and things like that. So that's just something to think about. I'm going to go ahead and go into the rest of the line and kind of explain it. So next is Broly Demonic Intimidation. He's a 7-cost, 3k, 30k battle power. EX evolve for 2 yellow over a Broly BR with energy cost of 4. So for 2 yellow, you can evolve it over the Paralyzing Presence. You also have the ability, if the number of cards in your rest mode between you and your opponent is 6 or more, reduce it in your hand by 3. So it becomes a 4-drop. You won't play him as a 4-drop too often, but as a pinch, like in late game, I could see you playing one as a 4-drop. When you play this card, you can only activate skills on cards that are green or yellow and no other color for the duration of the turn. That's important to remember because if you're going to put in play one of your black Overwhelm cards, you have to do that first and then play the Broly. Active main, choose one card from your hand and place it in your drop area. Choose one of your opponent's cards in rest mode. That card can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. So a couple really cool things you can do with this. One, you can keep an energy tap down, and if you can get multiples on the field, you can really start to set your opponent back. But the big thing you can do with this is you can keep their leader tapped. So if this stays on the board, you can theoretically keep their leader tapped for the rest of the game. And this can be really devastating against leaders that need to attack to get their effects off, or leaders that are really aggressive. Like if you use this against like a baby leader, for example, they just lose out on 2 attacks because you're keeping their leader tapped. So yeah, it can be really, really, really strong against those kind of leaders. You can also use it to keep anything else tapped out, and he's huge. 30k is really hard to get rid of. Pretty much the only thing that efficiently gets rid of it is like Beerus. Um, Leading up into Broly Explosive Wrath. Now, you probably won't play this card as much. I've only played it a couple times, but when it comes down, it's usually really, really strong. It's a 9-drop, 1k for 1, 35k power. You can EX evolve for 2 yellow over a Broly BR with energy cost of 7. So just like the other one, he's 2 yellow to evolve over the previous one. Permanent, if the total number of cards in rest mode between you and your opponent is 8 or more, reduce the energy cost in this hand by 4, so it becomes a 5-drop. That's usually not going to be relevant. The only time I've ever had it be relevant is when I played against Hachiyak. And then this card actually helped a lot because not only is it a 9-drop, so it's not affected by Hachiyak's effect, but it also can just be played for 5. So that's pretty neat. He also has Double Strike, with not a lot of the other cards in your deck do, which helps a lot with that. Active main once per turn, choose one card from your hand, place it in your drop area. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, choose up to one of your opponent's cards in rest mode and place it in its owner's drop area. So that's pretty cool. You can actually get rid of energy with this, which is really interesting. If your opponent's playing like a really big ramp deck, this can be useful because you can stop them from getting to like the big 8-drop Android 21 or something like that. You can also use it to kill battle cards, works perfectly all for that. One thing to note is make sure when you're evolving into this card, you use your other Broly effect first, because you can use your 7-drop Broly's effect, keep energy tapped, evolve it, use Explosive Wrath to go another energy, and now you've effectively denied 2 energy from your opponent in one turn. Another nice thing about playing this engine in this deck is that since you have to discard for their effects, the fact that you draw so many cards in this deck, it really isn't much of a negative at all. One more cool thing talking about Broly Explosive Wrath, and one of the reasons I added him in, the Broly engine is getting, or the Broly leader is getting really popular with the Broly Arrival card, and since he's 35, your opponent can't just immediately kill him with the Broly Arrival, because he only kills 30Ks or less. Alright, now we're going to look at the black cards that we're playing. So for Overrealm, since you're sacking guys to untap energy and draw cards, you actually generate a graveyard decently quickly with this leader. So we want to utilize that with 4 different Overrealm cards. The original deck list was playing 2, and one of the first thing I did was add a couple extras. So we're going to play Bardock Awakened Instincts for 2. 2 of them. He's a 4-drop, Overrealm for 4. When you play this card using Overrealm, draw 2 cards, then choose 1 card in your hand to place to your drop area. 20k power. He's basically just an extra attack, helps you filter through your deck to get to the cards you want. Real simple, real straightforward. Overrealm just to add some extra attacking power. 1-dimensional Banisher Fu. He's Overrealm 5 for 1. Double Strike. When you play this card with Overrealm, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, send it to their warp. This is just for some extra destruction. The deck doesn't have a lot of ways to get rid of cards. Like, it's all conditional removal. So it's nice to just have a card in there where we can just slap it down and get rid of a problem. It also has Double Strike, which is very helpful for this deck. 1 Mira Assault from the Skies. Double Strike, Overrealm 7 for 1. When you play this card, draw 1 card, then at the start of your opponent's main phase, choose one of your energy and switch it to active mode. This is just a really useful card all around. We're going to use it to draw more, and we're going to use it to get Double Strike attacks in. A lot of times this is like the finisher card that I put in to finish people off. We don't really have room to put in play Champas for Double Strike, which is one of the reasons we aren't playing the other mirror that just gets huge, is because we want the Double Strike in there. Also, the ability to untrap energy is very useful a lot of times. It allows you to defend yourself and kind of throw this out there a little easier. The last card we have in the deck is 3 copies of Super Saiyan Broly All Out Assault. 6-drop green yellow, 1k for 1, 25k power. Arrival for 1 green and 1 yellow. Auto, when you play this card or when this card is switched to active mode, buy a skill during your turn, which we don't have a way to do, so it's just when we play this card. You can choose one. Choose one battle card on energy cost greater than or equal to your opponent's current energy and KO it. So, like I said, we have removal, but it's conditional. It's very good conditional removal, as it can KO any big threats, like the Big Baby or any arrival cards. Or we can draw one card, then choose one of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode. Please note that does include energy, which is very important. A lot of times when you win is your opponent's like leaving up energy in order to negate your attacks or something like that, and you throw this Broly out and you can tap down their energy and force them into really, really awkward spots. One really cool thing is that between this and Great Ape Bardock, we have a lot of ways to play cards on our opponent's turn and put them in really awkward spots between tapping down battle cards or tapping down energy, which is cool. Not a lot of decks really have the ability to tap your opponent's energy on command like that. We can also use both of these cost 2 energy, so we can use them aggressively with our Freiza leader. So all around, this is a nice deck, especially if you're just starting out, because while it has a lot of options, it's not super complicated to play. Like, the ideas behind it are pretty easy. We're going to try and awaken quickly with our Infernal Emperor, Frieza, Malicious Streak, and Frieza's Calls. Once we've established our awakening, we're going to start playing threats like Great Ape Bardock, our Broly line, and All Out Assault, while keeping in mind our defenses with Great Ape Bardock and Assault and Cold Bloodlust. So it's really interesting because you have a lot of lines of play, a lot of ways to react to your opponent, but it's not overly complicated or has huge like arcing combos or anything. Also, you see a lot of cards, which is very helpful, so you can see your answers. But yeah, all around, really fun deck. It's one of my favorite leaders. It's actually the first leader I ever played, way back in set 1. Go out there, give it a shot. If you have any ideas for this deck to improve it, I'd be way open to that because I want to keep playing this deck going forward a little bit. I think it's really cool and it's very strong. Go out there, play some Super, and have some fun.